Hey yo, what's good though? Soul here, and welcome back to the story mode. Now, I have something that I need to admit, and that's the fact that I rarely ever play fan games. Now, don't get me wrong, there was definitely a time where I was constantly playing fan games. Sonic fan games were always doing it for me. There was always some Super Smash Flash back in the day, and of course, Friday Night Funkin' had some fire mods. But I don't know what happened. At some point, I just became somewhat of a, I don't even want to say this word, but a purist almost. And it's not like I intended for something like that to happen. I just stopped playing fan games for whatever reason. And I highly regret doing that because fan games are some of the most passionate things to ever be developed in the video game space, especially right now. However, I do think that one of the reasons as to why I stopped playing fan games as much is because they were kind of lacking in polish, and there were a lot of times where they were just straight up unfinished. Naturally, of course, this applied to a lot of Pokemon fan games. I never finished Pokemon Reborn because not only is it insanely long, but the last time I played it, it still wasn't even finished. That and the difficulty balancing was just atrocious, but that's a topic for another time. Getting back on track here, since we're looking at a pretty lengthy downtime when it comes to Pokemon in general, I decided it makes a lot of sense to just go ahead and delve back into the realm of Pokemon fan games. And one game that was floating around my feed that I was extremely curious about was Pokemon Nova. To my understanding, this was a complete, from the ground up, RPG Maker fan game developed by Fion Games. I don't know about the general history of the development, I don't know about any demos or how long the game has been in development or anything like that, but what I do know is that as of a couple of weeks ago, it fully released and is available to everyone to play from start to finish. So again, I figured during this downtime, I may as well just hop into it, play it a little bit, see how I feel about it, and then give you guys my opinion, and maybe you can determine whether or not this is a Pokemon fan game that you would like to try out for yourself. That all being said, I probably won't take up too much of your time, so why don't you go grab a snack, maybe grab a nice cold Sprite, maybe a thing of Oreos, make sure you put some wasabi in between each cookie so that you could dip that into your mustard while we talk about Pokemon Nova. As per usual, we're gonna go through my likes and then we're gonna go through my dislikes. First things first, I would like to touch upon the accessibility. I think that one of the things that definitely made me shy away from fan games were the fact that because usually they're PC exclusive, I would have to play on keyboard and mouse. And personally, I'm a controller guy through and through. When I had first booted up Pokemon Nova, I got tired of playing on keyboard after like an hour or so. However, on a whim, I just decided to try and hook up a controller just to see what would happen. And lo and behold, I didn't need any third-party external downloads or anything like that. It just worked. And I was so incredibly pleased, and it made my playtime way easier. But just the general options that they have available to make it so that you could feel as comfortable as humanly possible playing this game on your time is a testament to how much these developers care and put into this game. It was such whiplash to save my game and realize that I could have multiple save files if I wanted to. I'm not sure why that's such a foreign concept to Pokemon in particular, but it is, and it sucks that we have to get something like this through fan games exclusively. But I'm very glad that it's here, and when I inevitably finish the game and end up going back through it sometime down the line, I'm glad that I won't have to completely eradicate the file that I have on hand. And I think one of the strongest things that makes me very pleased is the fact that there is a speed up toggle. Now, I do consider myself a generally patient person, but the fact that we are playing an older styled Pokemon game means that those battles take just simply too long sometimes, you know what I'm saying? Especially when you're trying to grind and get levels up so that you could keep up with the ranking system that they have in this game. So it's made training an absolute breeze. And now I'm a little bit more incentivized to train up more Pokemon that I've been catching in my box so that when I get to the later stages of the game, I have more options to choose from. Suffice to say, overall, the accessibility, generally speaking, is extremely inviting and makes it very easy for pretty much anybody to hop into this game. Although I would say I do primarily recommend that you have prior knowledge on general Pokemon stuff before hopping into this game because they kind of throw you into the fire a little bit. They kind of expect you to have general Pokemon knowledge. They're not going to teach you off rip or anything like that, but it still does a good job kind of easing you into it even if you don't. But even then, I would definitely recommend it to people that are familiar with Pokemon. But I feel like that's kind of a given, right? You wouldn't play a fan game of a series that you're not even a fan of yet, so whatever, that's probably a moot point. Moving on. The next thing that stood out to me was the music. Future Soul, butting in really quick, I was not aware that the music in this game, from what I understand, was not a completely original score. So, I don't think I could speak on the music choices. I mean, they're good picks for sure, but I don't know if that's fair to really talk about. So we'll save that topic for another time. Moving on to the next category. The next thing that I have listed here is the visual and aesthetic. Upon opening the game, it definitely has that like futuristic cyber look to it. Everybody's kind of like grayed out skin wise, and then there's just a lot of those like streaked lines that you would see in like Tron and stuff like that. And it's kind of a trip at first, but of course it fits the general theme. The story does take place in Megapolis, which is like a futuristic city that was introduced in Pokemon Sun and Moon, or specifically Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon. And I'll be completely honest, it's been a very long time since I've played Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, so my memory's kind of hazy on whether or not we were actually in Megapolis for all that long, but I remember we visited it for like a couple of minutes maybe. I think it was primarily to get to Necrozma, but maybe there was more that we were able to do there. I don't remember. It's been a very long time. Regardless though, based on whatever was presented in the original titles, they took what was present and turned it into their own thing, making it a very fun and homey area to constantly roam around and explore. And they have so many different areas to visit, all of which are very fitting and very interesting locales. They've got bars and dojos and shops. You even have your own apartment. Now, of course, not that it's the biggest deal or anything like that, but there are times where you kind of go into certain areas and it does look a little samey, but to be fair, that's to be expected. It's not like you're expected to be in every single one of these areas like all the time, so they just wanted more rooms for aesthetic, but that's totally okay. These are definitely rooms that didn't need to be there. Sometimes you would just go up there just to see maybe one or two NPCs lingering around, and that's okay too. But what we do have in a little bit of repetitiveness in that regard, we do make up for in general character designs. All of these designs are completely like crazy and fun. It's ridiculous how some of these characters look, and they are all so much fun. They're all interesting designs, and I adore them so much. I cannot stress enough how much I appreciate the fact that we have character portraits during dialogue in this very specific situation. We have a much better idea of how these characters look, and not only that, they are able to be much more expressive in these character portraits because of it. So we have a general idea of their personalities off rip and what they actually look like, and that is incredible. I talked about this in a recent video, but now that we've entered the era of like HD 2D and there's a lot of different developers, whether they be AAA title developers or even indie developers, it seems like they've gotten the general idea now that we want to get a better idea of what these characters are actually supposed to look like, even if they do look good in their pixel or sprite forms. So they've been making sure to add character portraits because I think, generally speaking, if we're being honest, it makes it easier for us to connect to these characters when we could see what they look like and how they're emoting, right? Hence why the designs that they've placed here are just so precious to me. I love the way they handled this. But even then, they do little things like making sure that the sprites are actually doing more unique things. You can see Pokemon off rip, like sweeping and brooming and stuff like that. You can see certain Pokemon, or I guess Ultra Beasts in this case, breaking apart and things like that. You can see the Poiple moving around, being upside down, and just having general fun. And on top of that, during certain dialogue and cutscenes or whatever you want to call them, there are moments where we will get completely original art of them actively doing something. And it's so interesting. It's so great that we have something like this. The visuals are absolutely stellar. It's such a great time. Another thing that I enjoyed pretty much immediately is the general humor within this. Like I said, all of the characters are unique, and because of that, the dialogue between these characters are so much fun. They have so much personality and diversity amongst them that we have a lot of different dynamics amongst the characters that we're constantly getting to know throughout the game. The first time that you meet your partner, they are standing outside of a room by themselves thinking, I am so screwed. They are not paying attention to you or anything like that. And that's like immediately like, what did they do? What is going on here, But even then, you could tell that the developers and the writers on deck were just simply having as much fun as they possibly could, making sure that every time the word Pokemon was even mentioned, it is completely spelled wrong, and that is definitely to irritate the purists or whatever, and it is the funniest thing ever that nobody says Pokemon normally. Walking around Megaopolis, you could talk to so many different NPCs and they all have something crazy or unique to say. I literally have a video of me reading the dialogue from some of these NPCs that are simply walking by, and they say some of the craziest stuff I've ever seen. Like, it's immaculate and is so much fun. Another thing that I really appreciate, and this one is a little bit of a hit and a miss for me, but we'll get into that when I swap over to the negatives, but I do generally like the gameplay loop. The general idea at play here is that you are a new member recruited to the Ultra Recon Squad that is pretty much working to get the sunlight back after Necrozma stole it 500 years ago. Like I said though, you're a new recruit, so obviously that means you're a brand new trainer to them, so you're just getting your first partner Pokemon in Poipole, and then inevitably you are going through Ultra Space and collecting different Pokemon, training up different Pokemon so that you can prepare for your inevitable battle against Necrozma to get the light back. You start at rank 1 and you are expected to go out to Ultra Space, catch Pokemon, learn about Pokemon, and then you're also expected to help out the general citizens of Megaopolis by doing their side quests, bringing them berries, fighting certain things for them, bringing back certain Pokemon for them, and in turn you get points. After you max out on points for your rank, you will inevitably go and fight another ranked officer to raise your rank. And that right there is the overall general loop. You're going out, you're fighting and catching Pokemon, you're doing side quests for the people of Megaopolis, you're coming back and you're getting your rank up. In the midst of all of that, you are also participating in the overarching story. It's a very solid loop that they've pretty much roped you into frame 1, and it's so easy to get into it because everything surrounding the game, from the music to the aesthetic to the characters to the general story, from what I know of it so far, that it's pretty easy to get sucked into. And they also definitely respect the fact that 9 times out of 10 it's going to be like veteran Pokemon players getting into this. So, you know, as you progress, you can feel the gradual incline of the difficulty. And on top of that, they don't let you necessarily just overlevel your Pokemon and just power through everything. There are consequences this time because you have very strict level limits and your Pokemon will not listen to you the moment you step over that line. But there are ways to mitigate that through the candies that allow you to lower the level of your Pokemon if it's gotten just a little bit too high. Because, like I said, with the speed up functionality, it's super easy for you to just kind of train mindlessly and forget what the limit was. And also the fact that we have mechanics from more recent titles like the experience candies that you're going to be getting throughout your journey that will make it super easy for you to overlevel. So they have made a lot of strides to make sure that there's a little bit of a balance. That all being said though, overall, I think that the game has a lot of ups going into it. You will definitely pretty much guaranteed have a solid time as a Pokemon fan going into this, because you could see that the developers here are big Pokemon fans and care very much about the franchise and have pretty much made a game that they would like to see from Pokemon, and it definitely shows. However, there are a few just very minor nitpicky things that I kind of need to talk about in my negatives. Now, keep in mind that I am still very early in, so my opinions on these aspects, which are just 2 aspects, may very well change going forward. The first negative that I have is that it does get a tad repetitive the farther in that you get. So far with the bit that I have seen, it's played out like this so far. Go out, battle Pokemon, do side quests, get your rank up, have your ranked battle to move up to the next rank, go to see the boss, participate in some story event, do a puzzle, fight whatever that story boss is, come back, rinse and repeat. Obviously, I don't think that this is the biggest deal because I still find the gameplay loop fun. It's just very noticeable, and I think it might feel more noticeable the more that you do it. And obviously a lot of that is definitely broken up and alleviated by having more things to do in Megaopolis, as well as going out to different areas to traverse and catch different Pokemon. I think it just shows a lot more because you're kind of back and forth between one of a couple of places, and so because of that, you could definitely see and feel it a little bit more. But even then, I think it's still worth going through, especially because the story is pretty interesting so far. But yeah, you know, this is definitely something I'll definitely come back to once I have gotten farther or potentially even beaten the game to talk about, to see how I feel about that later. And then my final negative here is the general lack of trainer battles. Again, not the biggest deal in the world. It's not like you're strapped for money or anything like that, but I feel like it would be very interesting to go through all of these different wormholes and see other active trainers within these areas doing exactly what you're doing, right? Feels like it kind of would have been a prime opportunity to take advantage of these very cool and interesting areas that were developed here to place trainers around, have little events with them and stuff like that. I feel like that would have helped break up a couple of things even more and incentivized more exploration. But even then, there's still a lot to do in these areas. There's treasure chests with certain specifications for you to battle them and get a lot of items out of. There's raid battles that you can participate in and get very specific Pokemon, and so on and so forth. There's still a lot to do, and it's still all very fun. But again, I guess after Scarlet and Violet, I'm just a little, to put it dramatically, scarred from the fact that trainers just didn't feel as important, and I just wanted to see, you know, one of the most important features and aspects of Pokemon utilized more going forward. So, you know, again, not the biggest deal in the world, especially because it's not like you're ever strapped for money or anything like that. There's a lot of items that you get that you could sell, so you know, you're gonna be perfectly fine with or without trainers here. But as far as my negatives go, that's it. And they're barely negatives. Again, they're kind of just nitpicky things that I have sought out and something that I feel could be stronger, but it's not the biggest deal in the world, and it's not like a complete net loss or anything like that. I'm still very much enjoying the game so far, and I still plan to go through and finish it eventually. Now, I have no doubt that some of you probably noticed that I haven't talked about the story in any capacity really yet all that much. And the reason for that is because, again, I'm not done with the game yet. I don't really want to talk on the story too much because I still feel like I'm early in. At the time of this recording, I'm about rank 7 or 8, so I feel like it's too early for me to speak upon everything that's happening with the story. From what I have seen so far, it is very interesting. There's a lot that you can learn about your own character and about Megaopolis and other characters that I'm just now learning about. There could be more disciples of like Necrozma and stuff like that. There's a lot going on that I still don't generally know, and I want to make sure that I understand what's going on before I really talk on that. So I will definitely save that for a later video when I inevitably do talk about the game after I finished it. All this to say, I think it's safe to say that Pokemon Nova is easily one of the highest quality Pokemon fan games, and fan games in general, I have played ever. There is so much love and care put into every nook and cranny and corner of this game, and it is explosive. And I very much highly recommend anybody who hasn't tried it yet to give it a shot, especially Pokemon fans, because I know that a lot of us are still seeking a lot out of the mainline titles. So if we're seeking something a little bit more unique, something with a little bit more sauce to it, I feel like Pokemon Nova has a little bit in store for you that you didn't even know about. I will say that Pokemon Nova has definitely incentivized me to go out and play a lot more Pokemon fan games just to see what else is out there, what I've missed over the last couple of years, and even revisit some of the older ones that I haven't played in a long time, like Pokemon Light Platinum, that I enjoyed a lot but wasn't finished at the time. But you know what? I'm going to put it like this now. There's a pretty high bar. It's a pretty high bar for quality now that I've played Pokemon Nova. So we'll see who can compete with that. But hey, you know what? Maybe that's just me. So that just about does it for this one. I think this is like the first time I've ever talked about like a fan game or fan project to this degree, but I'm definitely gonna have to do it more. There's so many well-made Pokemon fan titles out there that I have yet to delve into. Like I have some saved, like ready to go. Pokemon Light Platinum got updated a couple of months ago. There's the Pokemon 4th gen, like revisioned 5th generation one that's being built as we speak, and that's looking really good. There's a lot of others. Hell, and I want to revisit like Pokemon Reborn and Rejuvenation and stuff like that too, to see how well those hold up as well. So eventually I will get back to those, but you know, that's for another day. So if you guys did enjoy me talking about something of this caliber, please let me know. You know, I again, the channel's been a little slow and I want to do more, but you know, as of right now, Pokemon is my side burner. I'm focusing very heavily on my second channel, Soul Side Quests, where I plan to talk about and play a lot of different games leading into a lot of the stuff that's releasing next year. Right, obviously Kingdom Hearts 4 got its most recent trailer. Final Fantasy VII Revelation is coming out next year. Dragon Quest is looking really good. you know, Xenoblade Genesis and Ocarina of Time. There's just so many different games that I want to talk about and play, and even games that I never really got the chance to touch into, right? I very much plan to stream all of Chrono Trigger within the next coming week or so. It's just been busy in my personal life, so I just haven't gotten a chance to stream like I want to, but hopefully, given time, I will have a lot more time to do that. But all that's going to be happening on that channel. Of course, we still plan to have a lot of different fun projects over here as well. Obviously, I still need to work on streaming through the Fire Red Hardcore Nuzlocke, and then we'll probably inevitably move that into the Hard Gold Soul Silver Hardcore Nuzlocke and play it from there. But you know, it's a little early, so we're gonna leave it at that. But I have rambled enough, so I'm passing the mic over to you guys, and I want you guys to tell me everything that you're thinking in the comment section below. Do you agree that Pokemon Nova looks and feels and is a very solid Pokemon fan game? It does a lot of things right. It is a very great and solid testament to what Pokemon could and should be in a lot of different ways. Or are you on the opposing side? This is not that high quality of a fan game. You've played better, and this one doesn't really interest you all that much. Tell me everything that you guys are thinking in the comment section below, because you know for a fact that I am always going to be down there with you guys. But with that, it does appear to be Skedaddle Clock, so I'm going to go ahead and do just that. I'd like to thank you guys ever so much for watching. I truly do hope you enjoyed. Do me the greatest favor of dropping a like and a comment, and consider subscribing for more content just like this here. And with that, I'm gone. So thanks again, hope you enjoyed, and I'll be seeing you guys in the next video. Do me the greatest favor of taking good ass care, and I'll see you all next time. Bye!